Now! Hi guys, it's Nick from Kicking Goals, and welcome to this week's show. So, this week, Carlton lost, again. For once, no one had a bye. St Kilda continued their road to glory as the most boring team in the AFL, and once more, our TVs were infested with the maniacal babbling of that bubbling buffoon beer guts Brian. It's all just another weekend in the AFL. Now, in the last round's tipping, I got 8 out of 9 in a very easy round. That gives me a grand total of 114 and puts me at 34th on the Kicking Goals footy tipping ladder. But let's talk about real legends. Coming in third place is Shivo with 123. In second place is 007 Warrior with 124. And the leader is Kim298 with an amazing 127. Wow. Now let's start off with Carlton versus Brisbane. Carlton continue on their horrible season with another smashing. This time against Collingwood. Carlton are trying to play for pride right now as they are trying to ease the pressure for Voss. Last week, Brisbane had a good win against Port Adelaide. McCluggage and Neil played well in the midfield, receiving 29 disposals each. Zach Bailey led the way with 5 goals and 26 disposals in a BOG effort. Since Brisbane are the reigning premiers and they're a lot higher on the ladder, I'm going to tip them to win by 34 points. Gold Coast versus Collingwood. Gold Coast are coming off an easy win against Essendon on the weekend, keeping them inside the top 8. Ben King led the way with 4 goals, with Joel Jeffrey receiving 32 disposals and a goal. Last week, Collingwood had a healthy 56-point win over Carlton. The Dacos brothers had 63 disposals between them. Jamie Elliott and Daniel McStay got 4 goals apiece. Tom Mitchell also had a great first game back after being on the sidelines for about a year. This should be a good game, but I reckon Collingwood will get the chockies, and I'm going to tip them to win by 25 points. Western Bulldogs versus Adelaide. Last round, the Western Bulldogs had a convincing win over North Melbourne, with Aaron Norton kicking 5 goals and Sam Darcy kicking 4 himself. Bontempelli and Liberatore were both super in the midfield, especially Liberatore in his 250th game. Last week, Adelaide had a gutsy win over Melbourne. They trailed by 28 points early in the second quarter, and then they responded as fast as they freaked Fox on Wiz Fizz. Rankin kicked 5 goals, and Jordan Dawson was great with 25 disposals. Adelaide are looking good for a top 4 finish this year, but in this game, I reckon it's going to be a really close game since both teams are eyeing a top 4 spot this year. Since it's in Melbourne, I'm going to tip the Bulldogs to win by 2 points in a nail biter. GWS versus Geelong. Round 17, GWS had a comfortable win over West Coast with Finn Callaghan and Tom Green combining with 72 disposals. Toby Green was extra dangerous with 3 goals and 4 behinds. Imagine if he kicked 7 goals straight. The lead would have been a lot more. Nevertheless, they still had it in the bag. Geelong also had a comfortable win last week. They smashed Richmond with Max Holmes amassing 36 disposals and Jeremy Cameron having a day out, kicking 4 goals and 5 behinds. Again, if he kicked straight, Geelong would have won by a lot more. This should be a really close game once again, but since Geelong are higher on the ladder, I'm going to tip them to win by 4 points. Richmond versus Essendon. Both teams had rough losses last weekend. Richmond got pumped by Geelong and Essendon got destroyed by Gold Coast. Richmond's best player was Ryan Mansell with 22 disposals and 3 goals. Essendon's best player was Zach Merritt with 40 disposals and Nate Caddy and Archer May kicking 3 goals each. It'll be a close game here, but since Essendon are higher on the ladder, I'm going to tip them to win by 16 points. Fremantle versus Hawthorn. Last round, Fremantle had an unlucky loss to Sydney. They are now out of the 8 and will need to respond this week to keep in touch with the finals. Also last week, Hawthorn had a gutsy win over St Kilda, keeping their top 4 hopes alive. Jack Dunstan continues his good season, kicking another 3 goals. This should be an easy win for Hawthorn, so I'm going to tip the Hawks to win by 46 points. Melbourne versus North Melbourne. Melbourne lost to the Crows on the weekend. They were brave, but they couldn't get the job done as they kept wasting opportunities towards the end. Jake Melchin was again good near the big sticks, kicking 4 goals, and Jack Viney gathering 30 disposals. Last round, North Melbourne had another loss, this time to the Western Bulldogs. They were in it for 3 quarters, then in the last quarter they went to sleep like Jeff from the Wiggles. On the positive note for North Melbourne, Nick Larkey kicked 5 goals once again, including 4 in the first quarter. So I reckon this is going to be another close game once again. This time I'm tipping Melbourne to win by 6 points. St Kilda versus Sydney. Last week, St Kilda had an ordinary loss against Hawthorn and they didn't really show up to play. Max Hall led the way with 3 goals and 27 disposals, and Waganane Millera got 43 disposals. Also last week, Sydney had a great win against Fremantle and they led for the whole game. Hayden McLean led the way with 3 goals and Callum Mills receiving 26 disposals. So I'm going to tip Sydney to win by 47 points. Port Adelaide versus West Coast. Port Adelaide lost against Brisbane at the Gather on the weekend and they couldn't make a game of it. The best player was Mitch Georgiades with 4 goals, with Zach Butters and Connor Rosie with 31 disposals each. Also last round, West Coast had a tough loss against GWS at their home deck. Jack Duggan and Harley Reid were the best players for West Coast on the night. Port Adelaide by 79 points. I don't know what's going on with Carlton, but it's not good. We were eaten alive by a more organised and disciplined Collingwood. As much as I fucking hate Collingwood, I have to admit they look deadly and probably the number 1 contender for the flag. On the other hand, Carlton are nowhere near the number 1 contender for anything, let alone the finals. I really am lost for words and excuses. So Carlton got thumped against Collingwood on the Friday night. Carlton 8-11-59 to Collingwood 7-13-115. Now the players of the night. The first player I'm going to talk about is Williams. In my opinion, Zach Williams was our best player all night. He knew where the big sticks were, kicked 3 goals straight, and he was extra creative around the ground. Motlop. This week, Jesse Motlop played a better game, kicking 2 goals. Unfortunately, he is still nowhere near his best, as we have seen previously. Cowan. Lachlan Cowan played a fantastic first game back from injury. He got 20 disposals and his kicking was spot on, most of the time. Well, we all know that our season is done and dusted and we can't play finals. The old excuse that I'm now waiting for next year is becoming a common conversation amongst Blues supporters this year. After 3 depressing seasons in a row, many Blues fans are becoming bitter and losing faith in Carlton. It is understandable coming from such passionate supporters, but we have to support the Baggers through thick and thin. It's the right thing to do. The future for Michael Voss isn't looking good for him as coach. The jury is still out for whether Voss is guilty or not, and with the new CEO Graham Wright starting this August, who knows what the will happen. I think we should go after John Longmire, who has had many successful years of coaching the Swans with 5 grand final appearances and a Premiership Cup. Longmire! Our leading disposals for the night were Chera with 28, Cripps with 25 and Ollie Hollands with 24. Our leading goal kickers were Williams with 3, Motlop with 2 and singles to Fantasia, Gunslinger and Ma. And votes for the kicking goals medal were Chera with 1, Ollie Hollands with 2 and Williams with 3. And the total votes are Hewitt with 29, Cripps with 15 and Chera with 13. So thank you all for watching this video, everyone. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Catch you all later.